us who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Giovanni.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. We're here because of Andy.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Jenny says I have a weakness for good-looking men. That's probably true, but Andy said, well, will you come? And I always say yes to Andy, so I was at Anacostia yesterday. That was really very nice. I so enjoyed it. And did I do something?
No, I just want to make sure everyone can hear you.
Oh, got a big voice. And I'm very glad to be here. I am unfortunately not 100% because I think 80 is kicking my ass.
Oh. That's all right. That's okay.
You know how you go through life and you're well and well and well. And you turn 80 and your lawyer has a really wonderful birthday party for you. Everything is going well. And then the next thing you know, whatever is out there is after you. And it gets you. It's bronchitis, my nose runs off. I had to start the last 2 lectures saying, I am not a drug addict. I'm really thrilled, of course, to see my dear friend Sheila. Who's here.
I just love you.
Oh, yeah. Sheila here started with the slave memorial, and we are very proud. I am very proud to have been one of the earlier members.
Yes, members too.
And I'm very proud of the work that Sheila does, and I'm so glad to see you. I have a present, and Jenny's going to kill me about this one.
Yes. Oh.
And what it was I published a book. Every now and then, you would think, as long as I've been doing this stuff, and this has nothing to do with Jenny, okay? But as long as I've been doing this, you would think I could get a book published, right? And when they shot Trayvon, I was, like any mother, upset. And so I put together a book of spirituals, and I called Standing in the Need of Prayer. And this is what we see. And we were selling some of it. I published it myself because everybody said, well, nobody wants it. Well, and so I had one left. And actually, I hate to say it like this, but we are selling. And so this one, I'm going to sell if somebody wants to buy it.
Oh, Lord.
Can I hand it to you? No,
Jimmy, I see youngin' for you. There you go.
And I must say, I
Great.
don't walk into any room, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, but I don't walk into any room without looking for my crimson and cream. I'm very lucky to have sisters who have been so supportive, and the Deltas have been very supportive. I've been working on your vice president. She's a nice woman. We can't all be Deltas. But I've been trying to say, put it out there, Vice President Harris, you must at some point walk into a room in your crimson and cream to show how much you appreciate the fact that in 1913, 26 women got behind a racist old bitch named Susan B. Anthony. And I think the AKA's had a good point. I'm not saying that. They said, we're not marching behind them. I said, well, we who became Delta Sigma Theta said, it's more important to march than where we march. Yes. And we now have a vice president of the United States who owes us. So we're very proud of her, and of course we hope that Joe Biden lives for another couple of weeks.
All right.
We wish him well, but if he doesn't, we can make that adjustment. And we'll have President Harris, who will, of course, invite the Deltas. And so thank you for making this possible. I'm so glad to be here today. We were here to talk about James Baldwin, and I don't know if everybody can see this. This is what did you shake your head?
I can't see it.
This is Penguin. I do that because she corrects me because half the time I don't know what I'm doing. This is Penguin. And this year, which I guess I'm starting this lecture kind of backwards, but this year, some of you know, Jenny edited the collected Nikki Giovanni that Penguin put out for the European market, which I'm very proud of because now you can read me if you're in Belgium or someplace. You say, I want a Nikki Giovanni. Somebody will know, maybe, who you are. You know what? I was a question finally, after all of these years, on Jeopardy. And I look at Jeopardy all the time, and you know how I'm not a jealous person. Some of you know me. I'm not a jealous person. I'm not even ambitious. But I have seen, my friends and people that I love in some cases, and there always being a question on Jeopardy. And I'm never a question. And it was like, why? Once, about 5 years ago, I was the wrong answer. And I was so excited, but I was sitting and we were sitting down at dinner, and the question came up. I was the $2,000 double Jeopardy question. I gotta tell you the sad part, for those of us who are not black. Excuse me, but there was a black man, one of the 3 contestants. And you know that Negro missed the question? Some of you know me. I know there's one or 2 people here who do. And I don't ask the Lord for much because there are other things to do besides fool around with what I'm wanting. But I said, Lord, make that Negro lose. If he didn't know that answer, he didn't have the right to be champion. And you don't ask the Lord for it. So he said, what's Nikki want to say? Oh, yeah, and I was glad. If you don't be on Jeopardy, you ought to know your black answer. I can see why you look like that. Which has nothing to do with it. Penguin. And so, Penguin is putting out all of the James Baldwin. And it will, I don't know when it will be available, I think August or something. But they're all going to be in, like for those of you who teach, for example, Sonny's Blues is always in the big anthology, but now it'll be in its own. So everything is in its own little thing. So that'll be, I think, very, very, very nice. So I'm very proud of Penguin. And I have been with HarperCollins all of my publishing career since what I don't publish myself, HarperCollins has published. And I was so proud that HarperCollins and Simon & Schuster and another one that I can't remember have all joined with the people against banning books.
Oh, finally.
It was time for the publishers to come out. Because
Right.
the authors have been saying, you know,
Yes.
it's ridiculous to ban books. There's people talking about they can ban books, but they can't ban guns.
Oh, yes.
How many people got shot by a book? And it really makes you so upset. And so to see that the publishers, and especially S&S and Harper's are the two biggest ones, to see that they are saying, no, this banning books is wrong. If you don't want to read a book, I can see it. I really can. Not that I like it, but I can see it, and then I come back to what we're here for. I can see why when what's that fool in Florida?
Sanders.
Yeah. And he started banning books, you know, they're gonna ban, and they banned Toni Morrison. Well, you think, well, Toni Morrison is brilliant, so everybody doesn't understand her, you know. I wasn't gonna explain it away, but it's like, okay. And then they banned The Color Purple. Well, that wasn't hard to read, you know. And I was saying to Jenny, well, I guess I'll be banned soon. And I wasn't. And they banned some other books, Judy Blume, for God's sake. And I wasn't. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not a jealous person or something. I'm not being banned. I'm offensive. I was just about to write, give her a letter, say, well, is it that you don't like poetry? Or I want to be banned too. But just about the time I was going to send that letter off, of course, she banned Rosa. And it made me feel so much better. I kept going, see, I'm banned too. Yesterday when I was at Busboys, I had my dear friend, and I love her so much, Renee Watson. I hope that some of you love her, some of you are librarians. Thank you. And she has given me a T-shirt that says, I write banned books. And I had that on yesterday. And it was just so nice to be with the people that the other people don't like. But you don't want those people to think you're on their side. They're crazy. They don't understand poetry anyway. But they should just do what they did. I needed to be banned with the rest of my friends. So I was very glad. And if Jimmy had been here, he would have been banned.
Oh, yes.
And he too would have been extremely proud. And in those days, Jimmy and I both smoked, which I do not recommend for any of you who are young. Do not smoke, because you'll end up with lung cancer. And that's really just not a good idea. I had lung cancer. I've never figured out the verb on that. I don't know if I had lung cancer or I have lung cancer. I just know that every day I wake up. So when I do not wake up, I don't want anybody to say, she fought lung cancer for however many years. Because I'm not fighting cancer. I do not fight diseases. I fight racists. I fight food. But I do not fight. So me and cancer are living together. And every morning, you know, there's a song. I know most of us give them a good morning heartache.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Every morning you wake up. That's a lovely song, but I wake up and say good morning, cancer. And I'm so glad because we're here together, and I hope that we live together for another, 10 or so years. And then one day I'll have to do what everybody else has to do. But I don't want anybody, I hate that. She fought cancer, and, cancer has not won. We have both decided to go someplace else.
Right, that's good.
There's no one struggling. I like AI for that. What they call artificial intelligence. And people say, well, what do you think about AI? I said, I think if this is if this is human intelligence, we definitely need This ain't working. It just, and everybody ought to recognize that, oh, well, we tried it, and sometimes you sit there and you think about, people sitting up in heaven and they looking down saying, I told you made a mistake. and God said, I'm trying to straighten them out. And said, they ain't never straighten them out. You may as well go to another planet, so we're going to Mars.
Oh, I love it. That was great.
But that's not about it. And the reason, they told me, I had I had a chat. So I got my two speeches sort of confused, but I wanted to share this anyway. But the reason that I met Mr. Baldwin, he was then, is that I say yes to everything. I sort of don't say no, and only when I have no ability to go forward. So I was working with a show called Soul, and some of you may remember Soul. It was on PBS. And I was working with Soul because a wonderful man named Ellis Hazler was the producer at Soul, and he needed a host, and I guess he hired, is going to be the better term, he hired, what's his name from Harvard?
Toussaint.
Toussaint, thank you.
Toussaint.
Yeah, but he wasn't a good, he wasn't a good host. And I'm not against Alan. I'm not against you, but he just wasn't a good host. So the first couple of shows, you could see that wasn't working. And Ellis and I were like friends, but not, it was just one of those, you talk to people, they talk to you. And they came up on my apartment. I was living in New York, and came to and he said, well, would you like to host? And I said, oh, absolutely not. And I'm not good at things like that. I knew I couldn't, And I said, Ellis, it's your show. Why don't you do it? And he said, one, I haven't stuttered, which you did. And he said, two, I'm gay, which you was. And you haven't told me anything yet. Who gives a damn? We're not asking you to watch you fuck. What do you say? That's true. And who cares? And there's nobody's, people kill me. Being bothered about who you in bed with. It's all they can do to be in bed with the person they in bed with. I said, Ellis, do it. This is your show. And I would say that to everybody in this room who says, oh, I'd like to write at some point. I think I'd like to write. Do it. Because it's your story. And you might say, oh, nobody wants to read it. Well, what do you care about somebody? What you care about is putting your story down. Because at some point, what you have to say will become significant. Yes. Can you, in other words, imagine what would have happened if Anne Frank had said, I'm not going to keep a diary because who's going to want to read it?
Yeah. Wow.
We keep these stories because they have to be told. And you and I who are black in this room, no matter what this governor, who doesn't read and doesn't know how. Are we still in Virginia? Yeah. No matter what he said about anything, they didn't want us, we who are black, to read or write. So they made it against the law.
Right.
Horrible things could happen. I don't think the white people are horrible, each and every, but quite a few can be. And he's one of them. And they didn't want us to be able to pass that story along. But we found a way. We created a song.
Oh, yes.
And we called it the spiritual.
Oh, yes.
And we told our story,
Yes.
which is really a wonderful story. And the world ought to know the spirituals, because the spirituals are 200 years of forgiveness. Of no matter what else is going on, you will find in all of the spirituals, and we can identify at least 1,100 of them right now. In all of them, there's never a word of vengeance. Yes. Right. There's never a word of, we gonna get you. There's never a word of, no. I'm gonna bomb your hotel, your hospital.
Yes.
I'm gonna murder your children playing football.
Yeah.
There's never a word that says our fear
Yes.
of you will let us become what you are.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That's a fact. I would always recommend being black. Always. Without getting into anybody's religion, because none of my business what gives you comfort. And I want you to be comfortable. But I just really like the idea that when Jesus got off the cross, he went and he waited for 3 days, he rested. But when he got up, he did the one thing that any man with any sense did. He went over and he said to Mary Magdalene, I got your back, baby. I may not come when you call, but I will always be on time. And black women have to live in the everlasting arms of the Lord. And that is so important because we've carried that love over. Nobody wants to listen to our history because our history is the greatest history on planet Earth.
Oh, yes.
They have to know what we went through to get to where we are, to help make this world a better place.
Oh, yes. Oh, hallelujah.
That's what I want to do. We can do better than going around killing people because we're scared of them. Because we want something that they have. We live on a planet, third planet, from the yellow sun, which only has a little bit of space. If you look at a map, you don't have to be smart to do this. Look at the globe. It's not that much land. So why are we fighting about it? Nothing is as crazy as killing something you don't eat. Nothing.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
It's time we stop all of this. It's time we stop this fear of each other. It's time we quit meddling with people. And I say it again, you can sleep with who you want to sleep with. You can be who you want to be. When you decide, I don't like the name I was given, change your name. When you say, I don't like the race I was given, change your race. It's your business. But if you notice, nobody ever is running up to Antarctica or up to the North Pole saying, I want to be white. I'm not picking on white people because they're here with us today and I appreciate it. But you see them running down to the Caribbean because they want to be dark. It tells you something, doesn't it? It tells you that we live on this planet together. And if we're not careful, we're going to blow it up. And that'd be a damn shame, but it'd be the right thing to do. Human beings, we can do better.
Oh, yes.
And that's why the one thing you have to do, everybody needs a black woman in their life.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Run an ad. Need it. Black woman to make you say and act. I do recommend it. Which has nothing to do with it. Ellis decided he would, in fact, be the host of Soul. And it was a good show, and we talked once a week, Ellis and I. I didn't want to work for Ellis because I don't like working for people, that's the truth. I still haven't really sort of gotten over that. I took a job once. Jenny recruited me to Virginia Tech, and it was one of the, I had never,
Oh, yes.
I'm a Hokie. I got to Virginia Tech, it was the funniest thing because I had never held a job. And I got to Virginia Tech, and I had an office, and that was very nice. And you have a secretary, all of those things. But you get a check at the beginning of the month. And I'm not used to that. I'm a poet. And so I'm used to what I do, you get your check or something. I'm not my beloved soror, Aretha Franklin, who counts cash. We know, some of us know we would not walk on stage without counting the cash. You know that. But you get a check at the beginning of the month, and that was really nice, and I was happy. You deposit it, and you go ahead and do what you have to do. I'm living with my mother, wrote a poem, said I married my mother. My father had died, and I was living with Mommy, and we had, Mommy moved with me to Virginia Tech. But about the middle of the month, I got another check. And it was an amazing thing because it was like, oh, they already paid. So I went to Jenny, because she knows everything like that about the academic world. I said, Jenny, they send me a check, do I take it? What do I do? She said, no, you get paid twice a month. And you get medical insurance. And she went, I said, if I'd known that, I would have taken the job. It's an amazing thing. You get paid twice a month and medical insurance. And then you have pleasant people to work around. But I didn't work for Soul, because I knew that would just create problems. People would want to tell you what to do. But I did talk to Ellis every week, and I did help him put some shows together, because I am good at thinking about how shows should do. And at the end of the season, Ellis owed me. It's always nice to keep saying yes, and then people owe you, which is way better than people thinking they paid you, and they can treat you any way they want to. So at the end of the month, because everybody knows I'm a foodie, and Ellis was going to take me to a wonderful French restaurant. He had it all in his mind. And he came by the apartment. This is what we're going to do. And he said, what would you like? I said, I would like to meet James Baldwin. And he said, oh, I know Jimmy. And I said, you do? And he said, yeah. He said, I'll call him and see if he's available. Well, Jimmy lived in St. Paul de France in France. He had gotten sick in the United States. I've always said, whatever else is wrong, this is my country.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going anyplace. But Jimmy and them, his whole group, even Langston lived outside the United States for quite a while. They all lived there. So Jimmy said to him, well, I'd love to have a conversation with Nikki, but I don't have time to go to come to the United States. Would she mind meeting me in London? I said, I would walk to London to meet James Baldwin. Are you kidding? And so I had a wonderful, and I do miss her, Debbie Russell. I had a wonderful nanny at that point. I had a son, Thomas. I had a dog, but the dog couldn't come. And we all went to London, and we did the show. It ended up being a 2-hour show, and it ended up not only on Soul, but I think it's on. I don't do social media, but
It's on YouTube.
yeah, one of the things. We had a really lovely conversation. When he came back to the States, one of the things, he called, because I lived in New York at that point, and he called, and we became friends. I will say this, for whatever unsolicited advice is worth. You always, I don't care who it is, have to be careful what you say and who you say it to. If you don't want to hear it again, don't say it. So Jimmy and I got along because I'm always cautious about what I have to say and who I have to say it to. And Jimmy, of course, is one of America's brilliant essayists. And I'm so glad. And I can tell you something that probably a lot of people and I know don't realize is that if Beale Street could talk, the girl is based on me. Jimmy said, yeah.
Wow.
But I am a lover of his essays, and that's what we read again and again. And it's always fun to talk to Jimmy because he's always trying to figure out how to make things, in my opinion, and if you see the thing, you'll see what we're talking about, if you ever see it. In my opinion, he was talking to the wrong people because he was trying to explain to white people what was wrong with them. And that's not the way that one goes. what you have to explain is to remind black people how wonderful we are.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's right. And so we had two generations, because Jimmy's almost 20, I think he was 19 years older than I was. So he believed that if he could tell white people, look at what this is and look at the pain, that they would change. I never thought that. I thought if you talk to the black people, you tell them, you know, fuck them.
Let's go. Yep.
And going about your business. Because we had 200 years of being bothered with some of the worst of them. And of course, what goes around comes around, so now we got Trump. And oh, don't you just hope he goes to jail. I just think it would be so wonderful to see. No, because he thinks he's above the law. And if there's one thing that we have believed, and that's all of us, Margaret Walker, who was a brilliant, brilliant woman, who has never been acknowledged. I think that that's fair to say. But she has wrote a beautiful poem, We Have Been Believers. And I am a believer, and my grandmother was a believer, and my great-grandmother. We believed that the law would come around. Yes. And we believe what Jesus said. I may not come when you call, but I will be there on time. And so we've always had that faith that it will work out as it should work out. Which when people see black people, they say, how come you smile? It's because the Lord has smiled on us. So, I'm not into anybody that's saying anybody that whatever you believe, I'm happy for you. As long as you're not imposing it on me. Oh. I'm a big fan of abortion, and I was at a Catholic school recently, and I just thought, can't go to a Catholic school and not because men don't have babies. Men make them. Yeah. And there's a big difference. Yeah. Something small goes in, something big comes out. And next thing you know, it's somehow your fault. This is a story that everybody mad at you. Hey, what the hell is wrong with you? Give me a break. And almost every woman you know, and I'm in nobody's business. We've all heard that. Amen. But who said you think it was? You're the one been coming around. And Jimmy and I had that argument. Because Jimmy said, no, Nikki, what you don't understand, this is not the way to ever start a sentence with me. Some of you know me well. Never start a sentence, but you don't understand. Really. And Jimmy Baldwin, I don't care who it is. And so I'm looking at Jimmy, and he said, what you don't understand is he's the one that has to pay the rent. He didn't have to pay the rent when he was coming. Right. He didn't have to pay the rent when he was visiting. Right. He didn't have to pay the rent when he was spending the night. Right. All of a sudden, I'm expecting his child, and he's worried about the rent. Don't hand me that shit. That's irresponsible. Yeah, that's right. The best father on earth is Father Penman, who picks up the egg and puts it in his pouch, and with his friends walks around to keep it warm. He doesn't know if that egg is alive. He doesn't know if it will hatch. He doesn't know when it hatches, what it will think about him. But he did his duty. And every man on earth ought to study penguins and find out what it is to be a man. Just thought I'd mention that. I enjoyed talking with Jimmy. I enjoyed knowing him, and we shared a mutual friend, Nina Simone. And, oh yeah, Nina, we go over there. I mean, it breaks your heart. It still does. We knew we were going to lose Jimmy just because of basic health. and your cancer, your basic, whatever. But losing Nina was sad because somehow, I don't know, you try to be a good sister, you try to be a lot of things. And there's just some things you can't do.
Right.
And there was a loneliness in Nina
Yes.
that just could not be solved. And it was too bad because what she had to give to the world, I think she gave, and I don't think, what she had to give, she gave.
Yes.
And the world was the better for it.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of Martin Luther King Jr. because everybody is. I mean, how can you not be? But Martin, as you know, was upset with Nina when she created Mississippi Goddamn. And Martin said, well, this is going to upset people. Well, if it's going to upset them to hear it, guess what it did for us to live it? And I think my good friend, and he and I graduated together, and that was a loss too, John Lewis. When they crossed the Edmund Pettus Ridge, they knocked a hole in his head. They did. And if that's not Mississippi Goddamn, what is? And John, of course, went on. And that's one of the things too, for whoever is young in here. If we're studying John Lewis, one of the things that John teaches us is that he recognized, I've done all that I can do. And so what he did was step back and he ran for Congress. And he became the voice of America. He became the soul of America. And it was a great loss when we lost John. But I remember John because we were both Fisk guys. I'm a Fisk University graduate. John had left the campus with Diane Nash, who is underappreciated, and James Baldwin. And they all left to join Martin Luther King. And they went through all of that. But Fisk did the right thing, which many people don't do the right thing, but Fisk did for a change. And they said to John, when he got out of the hospital and everything, come and get your degree. Because there's no point in giving him some kind of SAT or some kind of test. Come and get your degree, because John, we couldn't be more proud. When John walked into the chapel, I had been kicked out of school, by the way. Well, I was kicked out of school for another level of reasons. I was wrong. And that's another thing. Well, if you're wrong, yeah, admit it and then move forward. Otherwise, you're sitting there trying to make it somebody else's fault. I hate people that make shit other people's fault. That was my fault. And the dean and I didn't get along, and I didn't have any reason to get along with her, and she didn't have any reason to get along with me. It was probably a good idea that I got kicked out of school. I went home, I've been writing about it. I went home that Thanksgiving. Home to me is always Knoxville, Tennessee. I went home to see my grandparents for Thanksgiving. And I didn't have what was called permission. I don't ever think I need permission. That's the other thing, don't start a sentence with me. So I went on to Knoxville. When I got back, the dean said, you didn't have permission. And I didn't curse her out or anything. I just said, hey, I went home, what's your problem? And she said, well, I'm gonna put you on a suspension. And I thought, that's not gonna work. Because I'm just here to go to class. And eventually, my grandfather was a graduate of Fisk. Eventually, I thought I'll graduate or whatever. But I thought this isn't working for me. I did get kicked out. But I did get a year to think about, was this who was at fault? I wasn't at fault, but I was wrong. Does that make sense? So we had that situation. Well, John was there graduating, and I was there. I'm a G, and he's an L. But when John walked into the chapel, Fisk graduated to the chapel. And when John walked in the chapel, I went over to give him a hug because I hadn't seen him in a while. And I was holding his hand when they called she, because that's the way that we did. I was holding his hand. I said, well, come on, John, walk with me. And so John and I walked down at the same time, which of course confused the provost. They were trying to figure out, well, so I don't know whose degree John got. I used to run into John when I was in D.C., and I'd see him, and of course he was very lucky. He had Lillian, and as I say, everybody needs a good black woman, and he had her. And I would run into him, I'd say, John, do you remember that we walked together in graduation, and he said, "Of course I do." And, you know, John's a politician. He hugged me. I said, "John, you're lying." I'm sure he didn't remember that anymore than anything else, but he's a good man, and that was a great loss. And we don't have anybody in Congress now that has the backbone that John Lewis had. And I'm hoping that we get some people in who stand up to the devils, who stand up to the lies, who say, no, we can do better. And I'm not saying America, this is not a perfect union, it's a more perfect union.
Right.
And we can do better. And I'm also saying, which has nothing to do with this, you must vote.
Oh, yeah.
There is a great woman, and I don't think anybody will ever forget her. Fannie Lou.
Lou Hamer. Yeah.
And
Different time.
yeah, Miss Hamer is a great woman, and she worked so hard in Mississippi to bring together the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and to find the money in Mississippi where they don't have anything to be able to rent a bus, to take that bus to Atlantic City for the Democratic National Convention. And she demanded to be heard, which she was heard, and she demanded to be seated. Lyndon Johnson, as you know, was president of the United States then because they had assassinated Jack Kennedy. And Mr. Johnson, as we all know, was a master politician.
Oh, yeah.
And he came to Ms. Hamer and said, well, how about we work this out? We'll give you 2 seats, and in the 68th convention, we'll have worked out who actually represents Mississippi. And I will quote, they're always asking, you know, who said what on Jeopardy? And I will, yeah, this quote. They've never used this quote, but they should. Mrs. Hamer looked at Lyndon Johnson, President of the United States, and said, we didn't come here for no 2 votes.
Come on.
And put her people on the bus and went back to Mississippi. Now we know when they crossed the line that the sheriff stopped that bus and they pulled her out and they beat her and beat her and beat her. And I've always said, whatever is alive on me, I think that the thing that is really alive on you, there may be a doctor in the room that can explain it better, is your liver. I know your nails continue to grow for a long time, but I've always said, whatever it is that's alive on me, I have to vote. And so did you. If for no other reason than the way they beat Fannie Lou to keep her from voting. You have to vote. No matter who you vote for. I'm not here to tell you what. I'm saying you have to vote. Write your dog in. But you have to vote. Because otherwise they think they've silenced you.
Oh, yes.
Otherwise they think that, no, they don't think. Otherwise they begin to control you.
Oh, yes.
Otherwise they're telling women, we want you to have these babies so that you can't go anyplace and I can come in on Saturday night and get drunk and beat you. And there's nothing you can do about it. No, we can do better than this, which has nothing to do. with this.
That's why she's so good, Betty.
And what Jim
That's why
was
she's
always
so
trying to do is explain what we are trying to, what we need to see and what we need to do. I'm interested because I'm a space freak. And some of you know that.
Mars.
I love it. I'm going to Mars.
You're Mars, I love it.
And I think that it's the right place to do. I know that if we send black women up to Mars, we will be able to build a community. You get a bunch of black women together, right?
Yes.
A bunch of black women, what the first thing they say to you? Are you hungry, baby? That's the first thing they say. And then the next thing is, where are you from? Who's your mom? And I'm not against it, I swear, I'm not against white people, I'm in a good mood. If we send a bunch of white people up to Mars, first thing they're going to do is find a way to have a gun and shoot somebody. And you say, why are you killing them? Well, they different. Get over it. Get over it. We're gonna go up to Mars, and we're gonna find out what it is they eat and how they cook it. We're gonna find out who to talk to and how they do it. We're gonna find a way to dance and sing. And somebody will say, they got those Negroes up on Mars, look at what they do. And it'll be a good thing. It'll be a good thing. And we're gonna miss people like Jimmy writing stories about it. But you'll have fools like me. I'll be gone, I'm 80 years old. I'll be gone, but it'll be a lot of fun. I'll be sitting, I recognize, and I'm going to hell.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You know, I'm getting my father, and I know that's where he went. I have some things to say. I have some things to say. And I know that my mother and my grandmother, my aunts, are sitting up in heaven. So I know that I can get a day pass. And go up and want to talk to them. How they doing? What's going on? They treating you right. And I'm a good friend. I said, I like Jesus because he had enough since he went to the wedding. What did he say? Where's the wine? And then these people are like, we don't think you should drink. Of course you should drink. I ain't gonna be bothered with these people. I'm not gonna Of course you should. Jesus definitely right about things like that. And it'd be nice, just to sit up in heaven for a day or two, talk to the people you love, and then go on back to hell where you belong. It works. I think life is a good idea. Jimmy shared some of his, not secrets, because actually we all should know in this room, certainly, there's no such thing as secrets. Whatever you think nobody knows, everybody does. And so the first thing you do is get over it. Don't even worry about it. And the next thing you do is find a community that loves and appreciates you. And I was glad that Jimmy found friends. And I'm glad and proud, actually, to call myself a friend of James Baldwin. I think that is a privilege. I know nothing to say about James Baldwin that if he had wanted you to know, he would have written it. So I'm not the person. I know a lot of famous people, and I still do actually. And one of the things that was nice about talking to me is that Jenny teases me about it. Half the time I don't pay attention, and the rest of the time I don't care. So you can say anything to me because it's not going to get repeated. I'm not looking for a job. I don't want to write a story. I'm not Truman Capote. I'm not interested in any of that. So you can sit down and we can take. I sat with Nina for days. Whatever she had to say, if she had wanted you to know, she would have written a song about it. So you're not going to hear it from me. And I think that sometimes you have to know that there's somebody you can talk to who is going to listen to what you have to say or not, but they're not going to repeat it. They're not looking for, let me put that on Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is that people do. You have to have somebody that you can depend upon. And in order to have that person, you must be that person. And that's what we keep in mind. I think life is a good idea. I'm going to definitely recommend it. I do. One day, we won't be here, so you don't have to worry. I never knew why people kill people. Because it's not like you're not going to die anyway. I mean, so I won't kill you if you leave me. Well, you still, I'm going to be gone. It's so illogical. It is ridiculously illogical. There's a reason pencils have erasers. Because things work for a while, and then they don't work. And then you say, when they don't work, well, this has been great, and, give me a holler. Talk to you later. Take care of yourself. Whatever. But you have to let people go, and you have to let things come in. You have to learn to be grateful for what you have, and you have to learn to recognize it and be thankful and to go on about your business. Because whatever it was yesterday cannot be tomorrow. Tomorrow is only in somebody's mind because there's no such thing as tomorrow. There's only today. And we try to live today as best we can. And many of us have talents and ideas. We have things that we're not using because we're afraid of how they will be received.
Yeah.
But mostly, you have to know, most of the people that most of us know are fools. Well, that's quite true. You know, we don't want to say it like that. We want to say, oh, well, so-and-so's not a bad person. Yes, they are. And it's best just to not be bothered. You know, you smile when you see them and pretend you like it, but you go on. And you find the people who love you. And you let the people who love you, and you love the people who you love. And that's all you can do. And then they'll be coming tomorrow. And then when there is tomorrow, you'll be on Mars.
Oh,
You'll
love
be
it,
someplace
love
else.
it,
So I thank you
love
for
it.
sharing this time with me and Jimmy. I don't know if there's anything else.
You gotta do it.